Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning and evening for those joining online. UNEP reported that globally around 400 million tons of plastics are produced annually, and from these, only 10% happen to be recycled, leaving a huge amount of probable and actual leakage to the environment, including our seas and oceans. In parallel, UN Habitat reported that with rapid urbanization, there are 2.3 billion tons of municipal solid waste globally, from which 83% are collected, and of which 61% are managed in controlled facilities. These data surface that waste leakage and plastic pollution are indeed correlational, if not indeed directly proportional to urbanization. In context of developing markets, as we urbanize, there is increasing pressure to worsen waste crisis. But on the other side, this is also an opportunity to combat the crisis head on. And we can win this in cities. By 2050, majority of these cities are located here in Asia. We welcome you all here in Knowledge Session 7, Preventing Plastic Leakage Through Cities. On this session, we will navigate the interaction of initiatives by different urban actors coming from the development organizations, civil society organizations, social enterprises, and community engagement organizations. We will look into how these stakeholders do project implementation, forge partnerships, utilize tools, and influence and advocate for policies. And we will further look on how these initiatives interact with global discussions on circularity, EPR, financing, marine litter, and the plastic treaty. And we hope by the end of the session, we can have concrete recommendations to move forward in achieving zero waste communities. Let me introduce the panel for this afternoon. From the International Development Organization, representing USAID Clean Cities Blue Ocean Program, Evelyn Sagun. From the Civil Society Organization, from Plastic Diet Indonesia, Rahyang. From the social enterprise, Plastic Bank Philippines, Ted Guayco. And from the non-government organization, from Project Manager of Smart Cities, WWF Thailand, Wongprapinkul. Okay, morning. Let's start the discussion on, we wish to understand your ongoing projects and how these complement on the national policies of the country of your operations. Let's start with you, Ms. Evelyn.
Good afternoon. I'm Evelyn Sagun. I'm from USAID CCBO. Clean Cities Blue Ocean is actually a USAID global and flagship program that respond to the reduction of ocean plastic pollution under the Save Our Seas initiative. So what is the CCBO aims to strengthen waste management system, build circular economies, and develop sustainable solutions that reduce ocean plastics while empowering vulnerable population and mitigating pollution. CCBO is focused on local government. In the Philippines, we are assisting 5 cities. 2 of these are located in Metro Manila, while 3 are located outside the metropolis. We support our partners in enhancing local capacity and governance, build social and behavior change, strengthen solid waste and 3R, and support private sector partnership. So the first thing that we do in our engagement site is to gather the heads and the middle managers of departments that are directly and indirectly implementing solid waste management program. When we say indirectly assisting the SWM program, we are referring to the City Planning and Development Office. We are referring to the Human Resource and Management Office, the City Council, the finance departments, which are the city budget, city accounting, and the city treasurer's office. And together, they conduct a self-assessment of the existing capacity of the local governments in actually implementing a sustainable solid waste management program. So we provide the tool, we call it the Solid Waste Capacity Index for Local Governments, or SKILL, and they look into 6 areas of solid waste management, namely planning, policy and legal, service delivery, community engagement, as well as human resource management and what's the other one? Financial management. Yeah, so they look into this. So together with the results of our scoping and the result of the skill assessment, we finalized our technical assistance package to our LGUs. And I'd like to share with you some of the programs and policies that we supported that we think have contributed to the prevention of ocean plastic pollution in the different engagement sites of the CCBO project. So one is the development of solid waste management plan. While it's true that all our 5 engagement sites have existing 10-year solid waste management plan, 2 of these are due for a review and updating, while 3 are expiring this year and next year. And so the local government units that you are assisting requested that we support the formulation and updating of their solid waste management plan. So the SWM plan establishes a citywide solid waste management goals and targets on waste diversion, collection, processing, and disposal. The plan describes the needed policy and enforcement support and evaluate, including how these policies and programs are communicated to not only to the waste generators, but also to the potential partners and the key actors and players in the city. The plan also serves as basis of allocating budgets or leveraging resources for the implementation. And in the updating and formulation of subsequent 10-year SWM plan provides opportunity for the local LGUs to integrate our latest law on EPR, our circular economy approach, including the national plan of action on marine litter. Okay, so to date we have actually 4 out of our 5 engagements plans who are completing their 10-year SWM plan before these are submitted to the City Solid Waste Management Board. Before the plan was completed, there are various studies that we introduced or that we conducted with the LGU, one of which is an inventory of the solid waste facilities in the city. We identified like for example, the disposal facility, the CTMRF, the barangays with materials recovery facilities, the major establishments with on-site materials recovery facilities, including the location and the type of materials that our junk shops and consolidators are buying. The next thing that we do as input to the 10-year SWM plan formulation is the conduct of cost of service analysis. Before proceeding to identifying what are the interventions to be implemented in the next 10 years, they need to document their current solid waste management condition. And by conducting a cost of service analysis, you can look at how much the LGU is spending on solid waste management. What is the subsidy of the LGU in terms of implementing their program? What is the cost of per ton of collection? What is the cost of per ton of disposal? And you can also identify the equally important component of solid waste management with very minimal funding. I am referring to communication, enforcement, monitoring, and evaluation. Okay, so what else that we conducted? We also assisted the LGU in conducting a policy compliance gap analysis. How are they complying with the national and subnational policies as far as implementing the solid waste management program is concerned? And then what other studies that we conducted? Funding options. Yeah, so we conducted sessions on funding options. After determining the result, the cost of service analysis, then we moved to assist them in conducting a funding options sessions to determine what are available funding options to them. And the next one that we think contributed to the reduction of plastics, program that contributed to plastic waste management is the upgrading of their existing materials recovery facility. We believe that local government units cannot proceed with business as usual if they want to reduce or they want to divert waste before disposal. And so, like for example, in Iloilo City, we provided technical assistance. We brought them to meet with upcyclers, recyclers, to see what the requirements of these industries in terms of, like for example, plastics. And after this, they started allocating budgets to upgrade their materials recovery facility. I'm referring to, of course, one is the repair of their leaking roofing, procurement of equipment such as shredder, baler. And with these initiatives that they are doing, our project also provided an equipment such as a bobcat to help them move the materials from one area to another. The city materials recovery facility of Iloilo is run by the Association of Waste Pickers, around 30 waste pickers. They used to work at the sanitary landfill, at the working area, the sanitary landfill, but they are organized, they are associated. So the city, instead of hiring personnel to run their materials recovery facility, they tapped the Association of Waste Pickers to manage it. So there are about 30 men and women working at the CTMRF on shift, 15 this week, and next week the other 15. So far, the proceeds of the sale of, for example, of recyclables and plastics is given to them. Our role also is to build partnership with potential partners. Like now, they signed an agreement with a cement manufacturing industry. This industry is now collecting tons of plastics, and they use this in their co-processing operations. The cement factory is actually in another island, but when they deliver cement in Iloilo City as part of their backload, they bring along with them the plastics that the sorters recovered and sorted. Okay, another one is so far in 2024, apparently this 2024, around 36.9 tons of plastics have been recovered by the sorters. Okay, so another equally important accomplishment of the city LGU of Iloilo is the remediation of their existing sanitary landfill. The sanitary landfill of the city has been in operation since 2016, and the design capacity is for 10 years at a certain volume of disposal. They're supposed to be disposing in the sanitary landfill. And since waste diversion is not actually that successful, you could just imagine that instead of the volume of waste that they are now disposing is almost double the designed or the planned target for disposal. And we provided the technical assistance in 2022 after forging an agreement with them. By conducting, we deployed our SLF expert from the US to conduct a technical assessment of their existing sanitary landfill. We provided our recommendations and provide continuing guidance. In 2023, they started allocating budgets for the remediation of their sanitary landfill. And so today, they already completed the remediation. And we could say that the city of, by the way, based on end-of-pipe works that they conducted in 2021, 41% of the waste materials that are reaching the disposal facility are plastics. And so, based on the records of the weighbridge, because they are maintaining a weighbridge, around 363,291 tons of plastic have been safely managed as a result of the remediation that they conducted. So, as you can see, that's on the middle picture, the upper part of the slide. That's now the sanitary landfill of Iloilo City. They are ready to accept, and this time, hopefully, only residual waste will be disposed in that facility. In the same manner, in the city of Puerto Princesa, they have been utilizing their sanitary landfill since 2002, and they were saying that the useful life of the facility should have been achieved, 5 years ago. But because there is no enough soil covering in that facility, that the airspace supposedly for soil cover is still being utilized to accept the waste disposed. And we provided the technical assessment of the sanitary landfill in 2002, but it was only in this year, or in 2023, that they responded to our call for them to remediate their facility. The next slide, please. Okay, so that's all that I can share for.
Thank you, Evelyn. That is pretty comprehensive involvement in the local government processes from planning to investment and actual project implementation. Now we go to you, Rahyang, of Direct Plastic Indonesia. What are the national, the local policy that you interface with and your work on policy advocacy in discourse with, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Bhen. We almost survived the second day, so hanging in there. So, hello everyone. My name is Rahyang Nusantara. I'm from Plastic Diet Indonesia. We have a mission to advocate for plastic waste reduction and reuse systems, aiming to reduce plastic pollution and emissions. So, regarding your questions, Bhen, in Indonesia, Plastic Diet work closely with national governments and local governments to strengthen the policies, especially for plastic waste reductions policies, which aims Indonesia government has missions to cut plastic waste by 30% in 2025. So we'd like to accelerate that and how we can, as a nonprofit and civil society, we can fill the gap to achieve that ambitions. On the local level, like Jakarta and Bali, as you can see on the screen, we have more than 100 cities have single-use plastic bans, plastic shopping bags, straws, and PS foam. And for especially in Jakarta and Bali, we have reduced over 80% of plastic bags in Jakarta, particularly in modern retails, and 70% in Bali for both retailers and hotel and restaurants and cafe services. Jakarta and Bali is a big area, and in big areas like Jakarta, Bali, and many cities, they show progress on implementing and enforcing the legislations. However, small municipalities, rural areas struggle with enforcement and awareness. This uneven implementation highlights the importance of funding, especially on how to increase government funding to have a better waste management, and also community engagement and infrastructure development. You can see that Indonesia is archipelagic countries, and we have a lot of challenge on logistics and everything. And plastic diet motivations comes from the fact that there is a gap on waste management. For so long, we're focusing on downstream solutions, which actually our regulations mention that prevention and reductions are the first priorities to managing waste. So I believe, and Plastic Diet also believes that focusing on preventions, reducing plastic production and consumption from the start will create a long-lasting change. Over to you, man.
Thank you, Rahyang. There's a very good series of motivations, especially on being targeting retailers and restaurants on your key cities, Jakarta and Bali. That is very good and wise decision of Diet Plastic Indonesia. Now, going to you, Ted, we want to understand basically how the Plastic Bank Philippines interface with the government and how to engage your clients. Over to you.
Thank you, Ben, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ted from Plastic Bank. So we're a social enterprise that was founded in 2013. We're a global social enterprise, so we're present all over the world. We have a site in Philippines, and we focus on countries with developing or weak infrastructures in terms of recycling or contributions to the circular economy. In the Philippines, we stop or collect rather around an average of 500 to 600,000 kilograms per month. We've stopped over 29, nearing 30 million kilograms. We were established in the Philippines in 2016. Full operations began in 2019. And we believe a social enterprise model is really one of the most effective ways in expanding in a country or region. We also see ourselves as a social fintech or financial technology company because we do have the technology that we can provide to our recycling partners as well as our brand partners in terms of transparent reporting and accountability. We also, in our collection efforts, we also provide incentives to the informal waste sector. So our main focus is the informal waste sector, the base of the pyramid. So our main business model is really geared towards social good and impacting the collectors, which we call community collectors. Now, also with the rise of the EPR, not just in the Philippines, but in the other countries, it also gives brands in these regions more opportunities to provide a focus on the informal waste sector and, of course, the environmental problems of plastic pollution. We're also developing a more accessible path for really the everyday person to subscribe to Plastic Bank and create impact on a monthly basis. And this is what we're developing, hopefully launch for 2025. But what we also believe in terms of the social enterprise model is the expansion and the capacity to build partnerships with brands can also give us more access to other provinces and other countries and create more recycling ecosystems there. Thank you.
I think that the idea of a social enterprise and a fintech that is directly working with informal waste sector is wonderful. Now, going to you, Boone. We want to understand the perspective of community engagement in terms of your project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. The plastic project that WWF is currently implementing that has a goal to reduce leakage at the city level by 30% and achieving no plastic in nature in 2030 is called Plastic Smart Cities. And in Thailand, we are implementing plastic smart cities in 6 cities in the southern part of Thailand. We work closely with the municipality. We signed the declaration of intent, and we aim to achieve the improvement of the waste management system in the city level as a whole. So we are targeting, as you mentioned, focusing on consumption reduction first, and then increasing collection rate and the recycle rate through the community engagement activities, which we call Community Waste Bank. And I will be sharing today how we achieve the community engagement activities. But apart from that, the elements in our plastic smarcity programs, we have worked with schools, communities, junk shop, recycler, and local businesses as well as informal sectors. But today I'll be sharing how we use participatory development approach to capacitate the community to achieve the circularity. So we start from exploring the gaps and opportunities at the city level, the current situation of the city waste management system in order to identify the intervention points, like where should our intervention take place. And then we have our field coordinators in each cities who immerse themselves. We literally spend almost a year observing communities, trying to understand the development context of each communities, because we all know that the waste management system in each city can be different. The recycling market can be different. The waste composition can be different. So we took a lot of time to try to understand, to get them to learn from the community and to understand the context. And then we design the project activities with the communities. We don't design the activity for them, but we design it with them. So, and we are lucky enough that the plastic smart city model itself is flexible. It allows us to design the intervention that is suitable with each development context of the communities. Sorry. And then by engaging with the community in designing intervention, we can achieve the sense of ownership, and then we can know that the community themselves is the true owner of the waste bank. It's not our project, not the BDF project, but it's the community's projects. And then we start to capacitate them with necessary skills to operate waste banks, starting from collection, sorting, and management of logistics, and most importantly, to manage funding, because cash flow in and out, right? And then we need to know how they base manage the funding within the waste bank and then circulate back to the community member itself to create the sustainable model. And then we empower them by connecting them with other actors in the waste management system in order for them to be aware of where they are, what they are expected to do, and how can they influence the market. And that way they are being empowered, and they know that their roles of being transformed from the normal consumers to the waste collectors. And they know that how can they influence the market.
Thank you, Boon. That's very interesting discussion on context-based involvement and community engagement, transforming, shifting the mindset of the community from consumer to actual transformative actors. Right. On this round, let's discuss your challenges within your projects. Let's get back to you, Evelyn. Can you provide us the gaps and the challenges that hinder your comprehensive engagement with local government units?
Okay. So one of which is a fragmented SWM structure. Out of the 5 organizations or local government units that you are assisting, only 2 of these have the solid waste management program in one department. The others, they have only the program on collection and disposal under the Office of the City Mayor. Others are street sweeping under the Office of General Services, and some with the City Environment and Natural Resources Office, particularly on communication, monitoring and evaluation, and enforcement. So they're not talking, actually, okay? If you take a look at their, the Solid Waste Management Office, there are only about few number of staff holding permanent positions. So most of them are on a job order employment. and it's very difficult to be capacitating them, but because you do not know if they will be renewed or not. Another one is inadequate budgets to finance current and future SWM operations. As you can see in the slide, we conducted the cost of service analysis, and the subsidy level in terms of percentage is from 54 to as high as 90.31%. So the LGU is subsidizing the cost of implementing solid waste management program. Their revenue code, as far as solid waste management fee, was not updated or increased for the last 10 years, for the last 12 years. That's the reason why one of our technical assistants is to conduct a cost of service analysis and then the funding option sessions with them. And as a result of this, only one of the local chief executive accepted the challenge to increase their SWM fee by 100%. The rest, they are saying that they will finalize the justification and they will discuss about it after the elections in 2025. Another one is low revenue generation that I just mentioned. And then the last one is low to no market value of recyclables and residual waste. So our waste generators, we have ambulant junk buyers that go around the household and non-household establishments. But if they segregate the recyclable, say like 2 sacks full of recyclable, only a few materials will be bought by the ambulant junk buyers. So what they will do is they just give it to the collection crew. So it's the collection crew who's accumulating this and then drop it to the nearby junk shop before going to the disposal facility. That's all, sir.
Thank you, Evelyn. I think that's a classic example of even if there's a policy in place, if the structure is fragmented and that doesn't translate to actual budget and public policy on that matter, there will be challenges and problems in solid waste management. Going back to you, Rahyang, in terms of policy advocacy, what are the challenges on engaging in your country?
Thank you, Ben. During the first questions, I already mentioned some challenges like uneven enforcement of plastic waste reductions in city levels. And another challenge is single-use plastics like sachets. We see that it's burden our environment, and there's no values in for recycle. It is safest way, and it mostly end up in the oceans. And there are better alternatives to single-use plastics, and just most of the plastic waste reduction policies in Indonesia focusing on plastic bags. There are some areas in Indonesia that are promoting the actual biodegradable packaging. It's made from purun plant. It's just a plant in same family with water chestnuts, and it came from the South Borneo, in Borneo Island. And it's since the first plastic bag bans in South Borneo, especially in Banjarmasin, the sales of the traditional reusable bags increasing, and it's really helping the MSMEs communities. And another challenge is a lack of support for a more circular economy approach. As I said during the first questions, it's current practices is more into recycling, while in Indonesia newest circular economy roadmap for 2025 until 2045, we have 9R approach. It's not even 3R, it's 9R approach. And it's the first 4R, it's actually refuse, rethink, reduce, and reuse. So we have a 20 years of plans on having a circular economy approach to prevent the plastic leakage into the environments. And I think the last one is there's a lack of integrated solutions. So we think Plastic Diet thinks that we combine single-use plastic restrictions with the reuse as a priority solutions. And that is key to impactful changes. In our perspective, substituting single-use plastic with another single-use alternative won't make any significant change for the waste generation.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for highlighting the value of alternatives and providing market for the low-value recyclables and the need for integrated solutions for us to forward a circular economy in Indonesia. And then going back to you, Ted, what are the challenges or limitations you have encountered in dealing with your partners and your clients?
Right, thanks as well, Ben. So expansion is definitely a key challenge for Plastic Bank, and I guess for solution providers like ourselves. There's a saying in startups, it could be applicable that good, cheap, and fast, you can't pick all three, you can only pick two. So this can be applied to our services. So primarily, our first barrier of participation for our partners is providing plastic credits because it's really an open door policy. And usually we shift, or our partners shift to, we also provide post-consumer resin, which we call social plastic, and sales of our PCRs also gets returned to our community collectors. And the third is, of course, creating and maintaining recycling ecosystems. So this is a more long-term approach by our partners, similar to our partnerships with SC Johnson, Henkel, Coca-Cola Philippines. And this, and creating more recycling ecosystems in certain countries and regions, of course, needs proper funding and maintenance of these partnerships. However, with the implementation of the EPR law, and I believe the EPR law in the Philippines is one of the most, or if not the most aggressive in terms of EPR legislation in at least the region, it's really aiding more, or at least obliging more private brands to create these partnerships and to not just oblige or create compliance or be compliant to the law, but forward and further their sustainability goals. But there are several ways for these brands as well as the government, of course, we believe can support us in the stricter law implementation and perhaps penalization of these brands that are not compliant, at least from a Philippine context. We understand there is already the EPR law, but it's constantly changing in the Philippines with additional memorandums to further support it. And number two is funding waste disposal infrastructures. Of course, the USAID and many other providers and companies are already creating more solutions, more transparency in improving these infrastructures. But what we also advocate in Plastic Bank is not just providing incentives to our collectors, but a glide path, because we also partner with collection centers. So we've not just improved the physical infrastructure for our junk shop partners, but also they're also entrepreneurs, as mentioned earlier. Actually, in the documentary, or brief documentary in 11 a.m., that was one of our partner branches at Tanael in Bulacan. So it was happy to see. It's always a joy to see our branches still being maintained, of course, through the partnerships that we create. And it's number three, aside from disposal funding for waste disposal infrastructure, is providing adequate waste collection services, of course. So funneling down the collection services, not just from a city level, but to the smallest unit in a society, which is the family. So providing more access and information to these units. And lastly is the further improving of public awareness. So in the Philippines, please correct me, I'll double check, but last we only have 50% of obliged enterprises or companies that are complying with our EPR law. There could be maybe a lack of awareness, not just to put blame on the government, but in just general information dissemination. So perhaps also creating more awareness of the growing problems of plastic pollution, and the presence of the EPR law could contribute into further expanding our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. I think the presence now of the EPR law in the country really needs further modeling and further, direct actions on ground that has to be also shape or influence back the processes and the policy itself. Now, let's go back to your projects. No, sorry, Boon. I'm going to you now. Now, Boone, this is a very interesting topic, of course. What are the key limitations and challenges that may keep community involvement low in terms of managing plastic waste? Over to you.
Thank you, Ben. So, we've mentioned cultural aspect and economic aspect, but I would share that in Thailand, actually, cultural aspect enhance community involvement because I observed that our communities position themselves very, very closely with the religious institution, for example. And every time we come up with the activity that based on religious principle, or sometimes we co-organize our waste management event with the, for example, temple, we receive lots of positive feedbacks in terms of participations and engagement from the citizen. And the relationship is very strong in Thailand between the communities, the temple, and the school. We even have a word to call this relationship. So there are community aspects that enhance the cooperations of the community. But talking about economic challenge, especially when managing low-value plastics, non-marketable plastic that we keep talking about, because the leakage potential there is higher. It is a problematic plastic for us. And when we say it's no market, meaning that we have no market to accommodate this type of product, we have no demand for it, there has no economic values, and most of the time it hasn't been collected and discarded in nature. As we keep saying that the importance of managing this type of plastics. So what we did to address this challenge is we work with the municipality to try to capacitate them to expand the collection service coverage to this type of plastic. And we also engage informal waste worker. In Thai, we call them saleng. We work closely with, for example, Surathani municipality to leverage the saleng association and integrate them into the collection system, and for example assigning the areas for them to take care of these type of plastics. But still we demand more systematic change, like policy level change, like EPR, obviously, because we cannot rely solely on incentivization and subsidization, because after all, low value is, if it has no economic value, it would not be collected sustainably anyway. Another thing that we are currently developing with our consultant, Resource Waste Advisory Group, is the leakage performance standards. And we trying to communicate these standards to our local implementing partners. And we try to engage with the citizen in performing the roles of identifying leakage hotspot, for example, and monitoring the leakage hotspot no matter where they are in the waste value chain. They will be looking and identifying this hotspot in their neighborhood areas. So that way we can achieve citizen involvement to monitor the leakage in the city. And I would also want to stress on if we want to mitigate this challenge, we need to see the alignments among the environmental, economic, and social benefits along the waste value chain. Because if we achieve the balance among these three benefits, we can expect to see the self-sustained interventions.
Thank you, Boone. Thank you for that reminder of alignment. And I think the point on leakage performance standard can be taken by other cities in context, as it is a good indicator if really our policy and our initiatives are working for us, or it's giving us benefits for it. Now let's go through the discussion on your recommendations based on the successful elements of your project initiatives. So what are these that needs to be replicated in your work by other cities and communities? And we wish to remind everyone that after this round, we will take questions from the participants. Back to you, Evelyn, please.
Okay, so the self-assessment using skill tool that we conducted in all our engagement sites actually have proven that it builds capacity, is strengthened coordination among the departments that are working directly and indirectly on solid waste management. I'd like to give you an example in Puerto Princesa. Before they submitted their proposals for their annual investment plan for 2024, they all gathered and discussed among themselves what are the priorities that will be forwarded, submitted to the local finance committee. And one of the requirements is, of course, for infrastructure that they have to have readily available detailed engineering design cost estimates. And because of the report that we established among these departments, the city engineering office and the city architect's office volunteered to help the SWM program to prepare these support materials. So in our LGUs, they also need evidence-based assessment. In the case of Puerto Princesa, they are charging around $3 per tourist that visit their city. And according to the city tourism office, they have around 1 million tourist arrivals per year. And if you compute for the revenue that they are generating, that's about 2.5. And based on the revenue code, they can only use this budget if it's for environmental related infrastructures. And so when we conducted the technical assessment to their sanitary landfill and recommend various activities that they need to do to remediate SLF Cell 1 and to complete the installation of the SLF Phase 2, the concerned departments who decides for the utilization of this budget approve that around $2.3 million will be utilized. That's only for 2024. So you could just imagine that the revenue that they are generating for 1 year is enough to construct a new SLF cell. And for next year, they again proposed, and it was not difficult for the local government unit to actually implement this because they have readily available funding. And they're just waiting for, like, for example, technical assistance from experts to guide them to give them evidence-based assessment to base their strategic decisions and actions. So, sir, pass to you.
Thank you, Evelyn. I think that's self-assessment, so that's a local governance assessment.
Yes.
And that's very, very reflexive and very good to be taken by other cities. Just going back to you, Rahyang, what are your recommendations or success elements of your work? Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. So I want to start with sharing with you that our most influential element of policy campaign is actually having a multi-stakeholders consultation. So we have multiple times meeting with business sectors, communities, local government units, and this is the most progressive efforts to enable support and implementations. And this consultations process ensures policies to be more realistic, build trust among stakeholders or key actors, and make them more likely to succeed to implement the policies. And the verdict is Jakarta enables to reduce 80% of plastic bags in modern retails. Other key successful elements is government support, of course, and we've worked with Jakarta governments for more than 10 years to actually make sure that the policy enforced and achieves the targets. And we are now advancing our efforts to build the reuse systems in Jakarta. And public awareness, education is key. And old media, new media, we need to use all of the communication channels out there to distribute our messages, and including partnership with key influential peoples, celebrities, to expand our exposures. And the most important thing is also a practical solution. So policies must be realistic and offer technical and practical solutions. For example, promoting reuse models over recycling. And all of our learnings with municipalities are captured in these two documents that you can see on screen, and how cities can develop policy models, how can they also can develop on how to measure single-use plastics reductions from the law enforcement. And we have some other publications in our website, and you can learn. And we will have a new updated publications in the coming months, hopefully before the INC5, so we can have a better capture from those cities already implementing the single-use plastic restriction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm very interested on how you got to maximize the use of new media and engagement with local celebrities and these celebrities in the social media. Now going to you, Ted, what are your successful elements of your operations and your recommendations, please?
Thank you. So our number one success metric definitely is how many community collectors can we onboard further in each time we expand into a country, province, or city. So in the Philippines, we have over 22,000 collectors last I checked. We have 50,000 community collectors worldwide. We provided around $2 million in terms of just incentives alone. This is cash incentives for Plastic Bank last year for all our communities around the world. And doesn't take into account non-cash in terms of social programs, for example, food subsidies for their families, accident insurance. So the success and the increased livelihood for our community collectors and their families is our main metric of success. Next is, of course, how many communities can we further on board? So right now in the Philippines, we're primarily based in Luzon, which is one of the 3 major islands in the Philippines. Well, we have 7,000 islands, but in terms of group of islands, we are further expanding into the Visayas and the Mindanao, which is the 2 other major islands in the Philippines. We are based also. We also have a recycling ecosystem rather here in Thailand in Rahyang, and we hopefully expand into other provinces. In Indonesia, we're mostly based in Bali. And this is all in the second rather is creating more of these communities and these collection communities, either through the parallel partnerships we also have, not just with the brands or the private companies, but with the local government units. And third, of course, is the companies, because this won't be possible without our brand partnerships and how we can also further their sustainability goals and how we can maintain these partnerships. And in maintaining these partnerships, it's also about maintaining our recycling communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Now, back to you, Boon. What makes a successful community engagement process?
Thank you. So I would say that the key success factor to achieve the community-based waste management activities like the waste bank that we are doing is first, close collaboration with local stakeholders, whether it is government or non-governmental organization or even the CSO in the cities. We try to build a network and initiate the conversation among them, and we're starting to see the positive spillovers from our project directly or indirectly, but we're starting to see the initiatives that stems from the ground up. So we see our communities producing their own media to promote the awareness. We see the demand for capacity building training workshops at the community levels. And most importantly, when the community is empowered, their voice is heard by the local governments and even national government. So we're starting to see the local ordinance that is announced in accordance with the community waste bank model. We cannot deny that the strength of the community is playing a big part of influencing this policy. So, I mean, the base practice that is happening on the ground actually have a bigger impact. And when they see that their voice is heard, they're even more empowered. And the plastic smart city model itself provides methodologies and approaches for the local government and national government to learn and to replicate and scale these model in order to achieve the bigger plastic policy, no matter national level or even global level, like the plastic 3D goals. So we can see the contributions from our projects that influence both the local policy and the national policy as well. But most importantly, I think for the project-based intervention like this, we need to have the well-designed exit strategies to achieve sustainability, like self-sustained intervention. I already mentioned about the alignment of the benefits and in every aspect, but we need to also identify the local champions or stakeholders on the ground who is interested and have a capacity and potential to continue the activities in their own ways, of course, adjusted to the local context, because after all, they are the owner, they are the citizen in the cities who is belong to the cities and the system in the cities. And it doesn't have to always be the municipality or the government officials. We work with the, for example, Tourism Association in Songkhla, in Samui. We work with the Chamber of Commerce in Songkhla Hat Yai. We work with the Saling Association in Surat Thani, for example. And we need to develop a handover plan in order to ensure that the activities is maintained and can be scaled, and that can yield a positive outcome of the projects.
Thank you, Boon. I think if the organization is already influencing policy, city level and national level, basically the intervention is doing well, it's doing good on capacitating these people. And thank you for reminding everyone of planning outside of the project timeline. The exit strategy is very important for these sustainability elements to come into fruition. Now we will open the session for questions coming here from the hall. Anyone? Yes, madam, then you, madam, then you, madam. Can we take 3 for a time so that we can cut the time? So just please raise your questions, please. 1, 2, 3 then.
Greetings of peace, everyone. So my name is Biki Prachul Bosley, and I'm a youth environment representative from the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University. And I think you've answered this a little bit, but I would like you to add on it a bit more. While we recognize the importance of technical and policy solution in addressing plastic pollution and leakage, how can we integrate value-based education and spiritual mindset to inspire individuals and collective community behaviors at the city level for the long term? As we know, policies come and go, but it's the behaviors that needs to change. And at Brahma Kumaris, we believe that true change begins with an inner shift in consciousness. And what roles do you see local municipal organizations, civil society organizations, or even associations playing a role in fostering a deeper sense of responsibility and unity and respect for the environment among citizens? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linh. I come from Vietnam. And I have the same question with her, but I have a more question for Mr. Rahyang Nusantara. Sorry if I pronunciation your name is not exact. That as we may know, plastic is not problem. The problem is we are. So I hear your presentation in Indonesia. You already reduce a lot of plastics, especially single use. So because we understand modernization life is single-use plastics is more and more familiar and become the behavior of every people. So what is the more challenging you deal with when you persuade the community to reduce single-use plastic? Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Wongprapinkul. I'm from Malaysia, Basel Action Network. I have two groups of questions. Firstly, among the 4 projects here, we have 3 downstream projects focusing on waste collection, and then we have 1 upstream focusing on reuse and refill. So my question is, for example, like Plastic Bank, we recognize the commendable efforts, but what do the downstream projects think about the need for more comprehensive approach to plastic waste management, including a strong emphasis on plastic reduction and the zero waste hierarchy? So what are the opportunities of moving communities, instead of collecting waste for recycling, but they could collect packaging for reuse and refill? What do you think the potentials are for these real solutions? Because, for example, corporations could collaborate with Plastic Bank, but it would not incentivize them to reduce the creation of such single-use packaging. And then my second question would be, since China's ban on solid waste imports, Southeast Asia seriously has become the dump of the world across all sorts of solid waste, including paper, plastics, all sorts of metals. In your efforts, in your work in your countries, do you see an effect from all these imported waste? Do you see a lot of fly tipping, a lot of illegal dump sites? So on the one hand, we're trying so hard to collect waste from households. On the other hand, there are all these illegal dumps just mushrooming. Do you see that happening, and whether there's any ways to address that? Thank you.
Thank you, Wang. Who wants to take Vicky's question on how we can integrate education on the inner sheath, right? Okay,
I'd like to start. Thank you for your question. So we actually have a department that we call the School and Faith Division. So this is also mostly focused on eco-education. So it's about our team fostering the importance of recycling, of sustainability, of the circular economy to public schools in the Philippines and all over the world. For example, we have a larger base of partnerships in terms of schools and congregations in Brazil, because they have a stronger connection with faith in general. Of course, it varies per country. And of course, also educational institutions. And in parallel to that, we also onboard if it's also okay with the parents of the children as collectors of plastic bank, because it also can provide additional opportunities for the parents, just additional income for them. So it's about that's one of our at least participations in terms of the educating the masses or the next of generation, because there's perhaps a bleak reality that this might not be actually the generation that stops plastic waste, but the next. Thank you.
Yeah, in all the engagement. In all the 5 cities that we are working with, the principals of schools or academic institutions are members of the board. Some are members of the technical working group. No? And based on our Republic Act 9003 and its IRR, SWM must be integrated in the curricula of the Department of Education. So maybe it's just a matter of monitoring whether these are really integrated in the curriculum. But as far as program on solid waste management, school-based school programs, they are actually implementing solid waste management programs within their compounds. In the recently created Barangay Ecological Solid Waste Management Committees, one of the highlights of this is the creation of area coordinators. And if there are schools in the barangays, they are members of this group, so that if there are some problems with solid waste management implementation in the respective schools, then they have the LGU has this partner within these schools. Yeah.
thank you. Okay, Evelyn. Ryan, are you ready to take Lean's question?
Yes, so thank you for the question. So our first 5 years, we were focusing on the public awareness. We had an on-the-ground campaign, schools project, social media, and it's not enough. We cannot rely on the people will change by themselves to help the environment. So we thought that policies will accelerate it. So we started, we worked with the Ministry of Environment and Forestry to trial a paid plastic bag back in 2016, and it's changed their behaviors. Because they need to pay. So most people don't want to pay. So so we successfully reduced 55% of plastic bags back then. And after the single-use plastic bans policies enacted, as example, in Jakarta, 80% of reduction. So policies will accelerate people's behaviors, and it's even though to enforce that and to maintain that behaviors, we need to have a never-ending awareness campaign with all the new media and practice walk the talks. And even there's one movie in Indonesia that have a line promoting reducing plastic bags. And plastic is not only a material that we can touch. There are a lot of toxic chemicals in it, and microplastics is inside our body now. So I think we need to also rethink that not all plastic can be recycled, and there are a lot of more dangers and chemicals out there that impact it to our health. So that's the way we want to also make people understand there are health dangers out there coming from plastics, and that's why we need to prevent and reduce the plastic production and consumption.
Thank you, Rahyang. Ted, are you ready to take Wong's question on how plastic bank sees the break?
Right, thank you for the question as well. So we understand, of course, the credit system, as mentioned also earlier, is maybe the first step in terms of being part of the solution. But what we are also doing now, and what we are doing with our partners, is creating these collection centers wherein whatever is also collected by collection centers and ecosystems can be also part of their feedstock in moving into PCR or the use of post-consumer resin. And in terms of reduction of plastic footprint, well, to speak from a plastic bank perspective, we're not really more of a consultancy. However, with the shift into the EPR, at least in the Philippines, we're slowly moving into that. But there are already industry leaders. For example, PCX, they hosted an EPR workshop I think earlier this week, and they're also one of the industry, or at least local leaders, in terms of being a PRO in the Philippines. There are also PROs in the Philippines, like PARMS, one of the largest PROs, that are creating more advocacy, education, also to reduce the brands, or the what we call them obliged enterprises, plastic footprint, and it's usually in the form of a 5-year plan, which can change from a year-to-year basis, depending on the needs of the company. So this is also now being addressed, which is being pushed by regulation, or we're very welcome to with this regulation and how we can partner with the brands.
Yeah, I would like to add a short answer for your question about like behavior change and education campaign. I think it is important for us to keep in mind the waste hierarchy when we develop the activities on the ground. In our plastic-free school activities, we aim to engage with the teachers and school board in order to achieve systematic change in the school, because we believe that the teacher and the school like management level needs to understand first in order to, because they will be communicating and translating this message to the kids. And we want the school to take lead of these learning, capacity building, and educations. And I think it's also important to focus on the non-quantifiable results of the projects, because this behavioral change, awareness raising, usually it's hard to monitor, keep track, and quantify. So I think if we can add and the non-quantifiable, like qualitative measurement of these aspects into the project, it will be more comprehensive and we can follow the waste hierarchy.
Thank you, Boone. Unfortunately, we have to cut the session. We don't have much time. We wish to thank our panelists. Please help me give them a round of applause, please. This is the end of our session. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, delegates, and friends. As we approach the conclusion of Sea of Solutions 2024, it is my esteemed pleasure to take us through this wonderful wrap-up session. Now, over the past 2 days, we've seen an inspiring convergence of ideas, innovations, and commitments, each of them driving us closer to our shared goal of ending plastic pollution and transforming towards a circular plastics economy. Now, Sea of Solutions is more than just an annual gathering. It is a movement of dedicated individuals, every single one of you here today and online, governments, organizations, and businesses working together. The key word is together for partnerships and collaborations to tackle one of the most pressing environmental challenges of our time. Now, what we've experienced here once again is the amazing power of collaboration. And of course, how by connecting minds, resources, and of course, hearts, we can really create real, actionable solutions that make a lasting impact. And I myself have been transformed and impacted in the most meaningful way through the Sea of Solutions Conference as an individual and through our nonprofit organization, Quora, wherein we've actually met at the first Sea of Solutions Conference in 2019, some of our strongest partners that have driven us forward to help us meet these goals, targets, outputs, and commitments, including this year launching our initiative to bring schools together to lead in this mission to beat plastic pollution. And surely I am not the only one that can attest to the amazing, lasting, and meaningful impact of the Sea of Solutions Conference. It is my esteemed pleasure to invite a youth representative, Aguihon, of the Youth Climate Ambassador for Save the Children, to share their insights on how they have been impacted in the most positive way through Sea of Solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Aguihon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hugo from Hong Kong, which is a youth climate ambassadors from the Save for Children Hong Kong, and it's my pleasure to share our feelings in these 2 days after the wonderful conference. First of all, I would like to share about my new learnings in the conference after these 2 days. It's been a pleasure to know that as we have our project is called Generation Hope, which we have worked on like some climate changes or some pollutions that we need to solve, and which it's a pleasure to learn more about how can we solve the plastic pollution. And I've learned a lot of new things, such as circular plastic economy, or like how to use AI to solve the plastic pollution problem is really a good experience. And also, I would like to say that as as a youth climate ambassadors, I know that the power of new generations is really important because even though it's important to solve the plastic pollution from now on, but it's more important to solve the problem furthermore with the power of us. So I think it's a good opportunity for the teenagers or youth to learn more in this conference. And lastly, it's been a pleasure to join this conference, which brings out a very good and wonderful experience, and that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, putting our hands together for our youth climate representative from Save the Children, Aguihon, and as mentioned, solving plastic pollution through the power of us. Thank you so much for that. And of course, this week we have mentioned the power of the youth, of women and local communities to contribute to the solutions that we need. And now we have another voice from Sea of Solutions. I am truly grateful to introduce Miss Angelita Aguilos, of course, as she is fondly called Ange, Manager of Women in Waste's Economic Empowerment from Eco Waste Coalition.
Thank you, Tony. Pleasant good afternoon to you all. I speak to you now on behalf of more than 500 women in the Philippines who have entrusted their lives to us when we implemented the Women Waste Economic Empowerment under the Clean Cities Blue Ocean project funded by USAID. These women graduated from the 6-day basic business empowerment skills training, were mentored and coached in business plan preparation, pitched for their business, and given access to blended financing. They were provided with further trainings on advanced business and eventually linked them to market opportunities. These women who once doubted themselves, how could we be able to attend your trainings when we don't even go to school, didn't even go to school? We don't know how to write, we don't even know how to read. So I have many children to attend to, and my husband will not allow me. So this, and the stigma faced by the women waste workers, the discrimination, the gender-based violence that hindered them from attending the trainings. This and the other experiences, their limiting beliefs, they lack the confidence to do it. But through a well-thought-of project design of active collaboration with the different stakeholders, and truly understanding and taking into consideration the needs of these women and their well-being, we have successfully implemented what we once thought would be difficult to accomplish. So we too have our limiting beliefs then. Believe me, we learned a lot from the women on their journey. These women who were just once calling out waste on the streets and dump sites now have that newfound confidence. There are now women who are invited as resource speakers, paid resource speakers. Women who were once afraid of holding microphones are now sharing their stories and learnings in front of people. They are now involved in community projects and initiatives. Women who started with small capital and now have expanded their 3Rs businesses. Women who are now supporting other women as well. These are the inspiring stories of the women of We, our champions and community partners, which I bring to you today. So as we think of ways on how to address the growing problems of plastic pollution and waste, it is crucial to consider solutions that are sustainable and would really take into consideration the rights of the vulnerable sectors. In behalf of these women and those in the informal waste sector, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to share with you their transformative journey. Thank you and good afternoon to all.
Thank you very, very much once again to Ma'am Ange Aguilos of Eco Waste Coalition, sharing, of course, the hearts and messages of women that are pushing us forward in this mission. And these are just some of the voices being represented here at Sea of Solutions, working tirelessly to push movements forward, create solutions, raise awareness, and of course, create meaningful change. And to summarize and highlight the key takeaways from our discussions from this week, I am honored to invite Ms. Kamala Ernest, Project Coordinator of the Sea Circular Project, to share the session highlights.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Internet. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, colleagues, and friends, it has been an absolute honor to witness the incredible discussion that has happened over the past days, bold action shared, as well as the conversation that has sparked, ignited collective action, and delivered tangible to ending plastic. Each year, we grow stronger, learning from our experiences, innovating with intent, and maintaining our focus on the mission to tackle plastic pollution at the Sea of Solutions 2024 event highlighted 5 key thematic areas essential for addressing plastic pollution and advancing circular economy. So I'll just summarize very briefly, but we will be producing a detailed outcome report that we will share with everyone. First is on circularity in the plastic value chain. The event underscored the need to shift from a linear production to a circular system. Different sessions emphasized the role of the extended producer responsibility, innovative recycling designs, reusable systems, and life cycle approaches as critical pathways for closing the loop. Collaborative efforts between private sector policymakers are seen as key drivers for scaling circular business models and solutions across Southeast Asia. Second is community engagement for behavior change. Several sessions emphasize the importance of grassroots involvement, particularly among youth, vulnerable communities like the informal waste sector. You heard 2 testimonials just now. Behavioral shifts were highlighted as critical to reducing plastic use and enhancing waste management practices. Knowledge sessions discussed the role of local leaders and civil society organizations in driving behavioral change and engaging communities in sustainable plastic management strategies. Third, on policy and regulatory measures, importance of enabling policies was highlighted, especially for addressing gaps in waste management and recycling systems. Participants explored various EPR approaches across ASEAN through the different knowledge sessions, stressing the need for robust policy frameworks, global standards, and alignment with climate goals. Strengthening local and regional policies to support circular systems was seen as essential for advancing sustainability in the plastic value chain. Please do look out for our upcoming report from UNEP on recognizing the role of the informal sector in EPR schemes, advocating a human rights-based approach and a just transition in addressing plastic pollution in the ASEAN region. Fourth is finance mechanism. Financing emerged also as a key topic and a theme with discussions on enhancing investments along the plastic value chain and creating flexible financing models. Participants called for collaboration between development finance institutions, governments, and the private sector to redirect capital towards circular systems and provide inclusive access to financial resources, particularly for women and the informal sector. Last, on science and evidence-based action. Throughout the session, the importance of harmonized monitoring systems and data-driven approaches were repeatedly stressed. Innovations in digital technologies and artificial intelligence were showcased as transformative tools for monitoring, education, consumer awareness, informed decision-making, for optimizing recycling processes, and guiding policymaking. Evidence-based actions driven by robust data and international cooperation are seen as critical for designing effective plastic pollution policies. All participants agreed that collective actions, strategic partnerships, sustained financial and regulatory support are essential for achieving a plastic waste-free future. Now with that, I would like to just convey, please bear with me, a vote of thanks to many different stakeholders, partners, and colleagues. Success belongs to all of us, so I want to begin by extending my heartfelt thanks to all of you for your active participation and engaging discussions. Your unwavering support and active involvement has been very instrumental. You have engaged, asked difficult questions, and offered powerful recommendations, and we thank you for that. Your voices have enriched this event beyond measure. A special note of gratitude to the government of Sweden for the continuous support that has been the backbone of this event, and to the overall Sea Circular project. My deepest gratitude also to our distinguished speakers from the opening and closing sessions, our insightful panelists, and also our expert moderators for guiding the dialogues and with passion and expertise. To our valued partners of Sea of Solutions 2024, if I may ask to actually showcase all our partners who have collaborated in this year's Sea of Solutions. Leah? Thank you. Next slide, please. Yes, oops, there are so many, so it's difficult to see, but we want to acknowledge everyone. We had over 57 partners, collaborators in the form of speakers, exhibitors, and so on. So here we are to make Sea of Solution a success, and to have all your commitments here by staying in full swing for both the days. And I also would like to thank our exhibitors, which is in the next slide. We had more than 20 exhibitors. We grouped them into 5 categories, and we ensured that while they showcased their solutions, they also networked among themselves. So thank you very much for your participation and your contribution in enhancing solutions in addressing plastic pollution. And a special thanks also to the tireless efforts of UNEP colleagues as well as ESCAP team. We have spent months together designing and planning the Sea of Solutions event to make it a success. I want to personally thank each and everyone for their dedication, and I also want to highlight a special mention of the team who are working behind the scenes. A special shout out to Ms. Leah Las Pinas, who has been seated there, and you all know. And we have also Kamal Salehin, who is also our communications person, Nam, who has been interviewing some of you and getting some insights, Murad, who has been doing all the artwork, Danu, who's also seated over there, who has been supporting with all the technical aspects, and last but not least, Kun Pacharin, who has also been supporting with some of the DSAs and the logistics. You have been incredible, and I truly appreciate the tremendous contribution. And my And my very last parting words before I hand over to Ms. Internet is that let us be the change we want to see. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you all in other events.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Kamala Ernest. And of course, let us be the change we want to see. And thank you once again for those insightful highlights and truly heartfelt messages of gratitude. And also another huge thanks to our Sea of Solutions team for the incredible work done. And now I am truly pleased to invite Ms. Anna Maria Altorp, Head of Development Cooperation, Asia and the Pacific, Embassy of Sweden in Bangkok, to share a few words with all of us.
Thank you. It was impressive to see how many have been involved in organizing this event. But Excellencies, esteemed delegates, distinguished delegates, and esteemed colleagues, good afternoon. It's an honor for me to be here at the close of two very interesting days. We've seen very interesting conversations, dialogues, and exchanges of information. With over 50 thought-provoking panelists, we have been privileged to hear different perspectives on how to accelerate actions for reducing plastic waste. Sweden is truly proud to be a partner in the Sea of Solutions and this broader global movement. Our engagement goes beyond the dialogue. We are committed to action and to make a tangible difference. Each year, Sea of Solutions has been a catalyst for change, offering a dynamic platform to share knowledge, foster innovation, and sustain momentum in the fight against plastic pollution. This year has continued this discussion, this tradition, with new ideas emerging to address plastic waste at its source. We have been inspired by cutting-edge innovations and ambitious efforts across the plastic value chain, from the latest technological advances to bold policy action. We have all experienced the collaborative spirit, with stakeholders embracing digital transformation, the principles of circularity, and securing finance to drive solutions forward. Plastic is undeniably a cornerstone of modern life and indispensable in very many ways. Yet, it's a serious threat to our environment, public health, and the climate, and that cannot be ignored. Global plastic pollution, which exceeds 400 million tons per year, has become a critical concern, of course. Equally troubling is that 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions comes from the life cycle of plastics. So can we turn these challenges into opportunities for action? While the magnitude of the challenges is daunting, the opportunities to act are within our grasp. We must, and we can if the will is there. First, phase out of unnecessary, avoidable, and problematic plastic products, including eliminating single-use and short-lived plastic consumption. Second, ensure that plastic products are designed for circularity, which means that they can be reused and recycled. And third, we can eliminate and restrict the use of chemicals in plastics that pose a risk to human health and to the environment, and that hinder the recycling. And at the same time, we must ensure a just transition for those working in the informal sector, leaving no one behind as we transform our economies. 2024 is truly a defining year for global action. We have the ongoing intergovernmental negotiating committee sessions to create a legally binding international agreement on plastic pollution. 2024 holds the potential for transformative processes. Sea of Solutions 2024 feeds into this as it has brought global voices together at this critical juncture, fostering partnerships that will resonate beyond these conventions and into global action. Sea of Solutions has played a vital role convening leaders from intergovernmental organizations, the private sector, civil society, and academia to forge partnerships that can scale up impactful actions. This event also serves as a key moment ahead of the final INC session in the Republic of Korea, where the world is looking for concrete steps toward ending plastic pollution. I also want to emphasize Sweden's commitment. Sea of Solutions is part of Sea Circular, an initiative by UNEP and COPSI that has been supported and financed by Sweden from its start in 2018. The aim of the initiative is to inspire market-based solutions and encouraging enabling policies to solve marine plastic pollution at the source, in line with the Regional Action Plan on Marine Litter in the East Asian Seas region. Finally, a sincere thanks to UNEP and COPSI for all their work in organizing this, and to all panelists, partners, and participants. Thank you for your dedication, innovation, and tireless efforts. Your contributions are truly vital as we continue this important journey. So let us carry forward the spirit of collaboration, the energy of innovation, and the momentum we've built here, ensuring that the vision of a world free of plastic pollution becomes a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much to Ms. Anna Maria Altorp for that truly empowering and inspiring message to all of us here this week. And more than anything, we are truly grateful to the government of Sweden for their incredible support to the Sea Circular Project, COBSI, and of course for enabling this meaningful change through Sea of Solutions. Now, to officially close this year's Sea of Solutions, it is my honor to invite Mr. Stephen Stone, Deputy Director of the Industry and Economy Division of the United Nations Environment Program, to deliver the closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're probably wondering, when is this going to end? There's so many closing remarks. I'll be brief. I think there's been a lot of thank yous that have been said. But gratitude is a virtue, right? So I will say thank you again. Thank you so much, Anna Maria. Thank you to Sweden for all the support over the years, to Sea Circular, to Sea of Solutions. Thank you to all who have come here over the past 2 days, who have shown your commitment, your actions, your demonstrated commitment to solving the plastics crisis. Dare I use that word? Crisis which is invisible. We don't always see it. It started in the sea, in the ocean. And there we saw the dramatic effects of plastics conglomerating into islands, choking the wildlife of the oceans. And somehow that triggered us to say, enough, we can't take it anymore. We all came from the ocean. Billions of years ago, we came from the ocean. That's our home. And yet, that was only the visible manifestation of plastic. Because behind the island of plastic that's circulating around, the plastic that's choking the wildlife, is the invisible plastic, the nanoparticles, the microparticles, the ones that are going into the fish, the ones that are going into the blood, the ones that are going into the milk, the ones that are going into our bodies. We can turn this ship around, but it's not easy. I know it started in 1960, even in my country. Rachel Carsten produced a book called The Silent Spring. Silent because perhaps there wouldn't be that same chirping, but silent because the crisis is silent, unless we raise our voices. In 2022, there was a resolution in the UN Environment Assembly where all the governments of this world came together and said, we are determined to stop plastic pollution. That started a negotiation which happens to this day, and as Anna Maria, you said, will continue this year at INC 5. And I truly hope all governments come together and agree to end plastic pollution in this legal instrument, and I'm convinced they will. But even then, even with the best laws in the world, it's not going to happen with governments alone. And that's what we heard today. It's the private sector. It's the $17 trillion of investment that are required to actually shift the needle, change production systems, create, to innovate the new markets that will shape the future, not only of plastics, but of our lives and the lives of our children. So we have a huge task in front of us. But listening to you all over the past few days, I think we can get it done. So on behalf of UNEP, thank you very much. And this is the last.
Thank you so much once again, Mr. Stephen Stone. And of course, for that wonderful message that I'm sure everybody will carry in their hearts through this conference and beyond. And of course, thank you for wrapping up what has been an incredible 2 days. Actually, we can't get enough. We wish it was longer, but an incredible 2 days of dialogue, learning, and commitment. Together, we can turn the tide on plastic pollution and build a sustainable future, not just for generations to come, but for today's generation. And now I am truly grateful and pleased to share with you and give you a glimpse of the meaningful highlights of Day 2 of Sea of Solutions.
The Sea of Solution is actually a very good opportunity to meet experts, to meet stakeholders from different institutions and to have discussions on these very pressing issues and find solutions.
It is important to discuss finance at the Sea of Solution because finance is a critical component in tackling plastic waste. We need to start building the necessary infrastructure and help businesses who are recovering the material to be funded. It is also a tremendous opportunity to create jobs, to enter into the circular economy industry.
So the one thing that gives me hope is the people, seeing everybody coming together, collaborating, finding ways to create solutions towards the plastic crisis.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And as we reflect on these past 2 days, may we all carry forward the energy, the ideas, the commitments and partnerships that we have formed to continue the work, to sustain the momentum beyond this event. The commitment that you have all shown towards reducing plastic waste and promoting sustainable practices is truly inspiring. We thank you all for your participation, your dedication, and your unwavering commitment to this cause that we all share together. Safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you all next year as we continue this vital journey together to beat plastic pollution through a sea of solutions. And before we end, I hope you can come together. When I say let's beat plastic pollution, we hope you can all say, through Sea of Solutions. Here we go. Let's beat plastic pollution through. Let's beat plastic pollution through. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful trip home. Thank you.